Hello sunshines, I am back. I know I've been gone for a few months now, like 2 months I want to say. But for those of you who don't know, I was pregnant and I just recently had my baby Alma. So now I have a daughter. We are so in love with her and so blessed to have her. I cannot believe that I am now a mom of 2 kids. Like, I feel like my life is set. Like, I am good now. Like, I don't have to have more kids. I'm not saying I won't, but I'm just saying I feel good. And I've been trying to get this labor and delivery story out to you guys as soon as possible. But I also wanted to give myself a proper time at the beginning of my recovery to solely focus on my recovery, breastfeeding, getting through the struggles of breastfeeding, and taking care of Alma. I just want to say that I was doing this traditional 40-day recovery method, very common in many countries and in many cultures. Also in my Dominican culture, it's very common, but I added my own little things to it, my own naturalness. Basically for 40 days, no work, no labor, and just focusing on myself, taking care of myself, focusing on my recovery so that I can best take care of my daughter, my newborn daughter. So Alma is almost 2 months now. She was born on March 21st, which is really cool because her birthday is 3/2/1. And she was born here at home, just like we've always wanted. We're so blessed and grateful for that. She was born at 6:37 in the morning, and she was 6 pounds and 11 ounces and 21 inches long. And this is how it all went. First off, I'm very proud and happy to say that I had a very successful VBAC. For those of you who don't know, VBAC stands for vaginal birth after cesarean. I did not have a good experience with my first birth, and I wanted to really do things differently the second time around, learning from my first experience. And I was also a very totally different person in my first pregnancy, and as a mother I have evolved. My beliefs has evolved, my lifestyle has evolved, everything about me really evolved. It makes a lot of sense for me to do things differently. So that is why I really wanted to be back. I also had an 8-year gap between my first and second pregnancy, so that was really helpful. And lastly, I had a birth team. I had an awesome midwife that I chose and really looked into her, and we sat down and really made sure that the midwife we're choosing is one that we relate with, that she understands us, we understand her, and we have a set birth plan. And I also had a doula as a part of my birth team, and she was also so awesome, very encouraging, very supportive. So if you guys are interested in having a home birth or a hospital birth, or birth center birth, I highly suggest you look into a midwife and a doula. Just look into both, and I think both together make an awesome team. So this is how it all started. I was basically getting like these minor cramps that felt like menstrual cramps, right? 4 days prior to the day I actually gave birth. That first night I was getting stronger menstrual cramp feelings about every hour, so I wasn't sleeping as well. I slept, but not as well. The second day I started to actually have feelings of contractions. It was my first time ever feeling what contractions would feel like. And then from there it went on to every 15 minutes the next days. The first night every hour, the next day it was every half an hour to every 15 minutes, up and down. Then the third day is when it really got tough, where my contractions were really like, they were like strong, and I thought that I would give birth on March 20th, which is the first day of spring. So I thought that was really cool because Manny had a dream, and in his dream she looked like a bunny.
I had a dream that you were a bunny, and I don't dream often and I don't remember a lot of dreams, but this time I remember this dream, and you were a bunny that was super energetic, super fast, and super cute. And
it sounds like her already.
I didn't know what it meant. And then my mom told me, Grandma is downstairs by the way, she's hanging out with your brother. She told me that today is the first day of spring.
So on March 20th, while I'm having those contractions in our dining room, we look out the window and we see 2 bunnies just running around. And this is common for us, but that was the first time we saw a bunny as the weather just got nicer. So we took it as a sign, and I thought that I would give birth on that day, March 20th, but I didn't. It dragged on. My doula came over on March 20th, which is the day before giving birth. She was here from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. We even had dinner together and everything. That same afternoon on March 20th, my mucus plug came out. I saw it come out in the bathroom.
Mommy's mucus plug just left the building. This is day 3? Is it?
Yep.
You've been giving mommy contractions for 3 days, woman. Mommy's gonna be reminding you this for the rest of your life. Did you know that for 3 days you gave me this pain and this pain? Your brother, he's not little Manny to you, he's your older brother Manny, wasn't giving mommy these problems because mommy was on heavy medication for your brother. And mommy had surgery done to take little Manny out. So it was, people like to say it was easier for him, but it was actually harder. Your brother Manny has been through it. Yep. Manny has been through a lot. He's a miracle. It's amazing that he's here today. But mommy's experiencing all this with you right now.
Also keep in mind, this is the 3rd day, so I was a little sleep deprived and very tired. Those last 2 nights before giving birth, I remember sleeping in this chair. This is a rocking chair, and I could not sleep on the bed, so I was sleeping in this chair with a pillow behind me, and that is the only way I was able to get a few minutes of sleep, like banking sleep every few minutes. It was horrible. It's like being tortured. But what kept me going was basically knowing that Alma was soon gonna be here and we're finally gonna meet here, and I just kept thinking like, man, this little girl better be amazing. So moving the story along, around 12 a.m. I could not take it anymore and my contractions were very, very close. So I finally got to having contractions every 5 minutes and then jumping to every 3 minutes and every 2 minutes. And that's when I told Manny to call my doula. And she said, you know what, I'm gonna stay on the phone to just hear what she sounds like. And while I'm on the phone with her, my water broke right at that moment while I'm sitting on the bed, and Manny's right here with the doula on the phone, and she was listening to me having that one contraction that made my water break. So that's when we all started moving. She said, okay, I'm gonna be right over. She was here in literally 6 minutes along with my midwife. They started preparing everything, like all of the medical stuff was already set, you know, like a month or 2 prior in my bathroom, so they both already knew where everything was.
This is daddy checking in. Mommy is upstairs right now. You can't tell I just woke up. It's 1:30 in the morning and you decided to come now. This time, look at the time you got here. That's why you're getting a curfew. The midwife and the doulas here, Venus and Gloriana, they came here and got busy right away. They didn't waste any time. Mommy's up there, strong and tough. They were surprised to see that she was fully dilated. Mommy's a strong woman.
So they started to set everything up as soon as they got here. Things like dimming the lights. We have overhead lighting and it's very bright and fluorescent lighting, and we don't want that to be a shock on the baby's face when the baby comes out. So immediately candles were lit, and we also have like this really dim lamp on the corner of the room. The room was set up to 80 degrees, so it got really hot in here, which is great for the baby because I'm going to have skin to skin right after the baby is born. So they did all that, my birth team being my doula, my midwife, and Manny. And of course my midwife got all her other medical stuff together. The bathtub was clean. I was supposed to have a water birth. So when my midwife got here, she spoke to me for a while, checked me, and then she saw that I had an amniotic fluid like bubble. So my midwife had to manually pop that just because I was pretty sleep deprived and she didn't want me to be even more sleep deprived to wait for it to pop on its own. But originally she's not too keen about intervening with things like that, and she would just allow it to pop on its own. But in my case, because I was already sleep deprived, she felt that I needed it to be popped because I needed my energy to push. And her concern with that was that it may not be safe at that moment for me to get in the water and try to birth the baby in the water, even though that's a part of my birth plan. Since that risk presented itself, she said, you know what, it's best for you to just do this on dry land, and we're gonna do it on the bed, and we're gonna set everything up, And I really didn't want to do that, but I mean, if that's what's going to get the baby here safe and sound, then that's what I'm going to do. While I was dealing with the contractions, my doula was applying like these pressure massaging points in my back where I was feeling most of the contraction. So that just basically helps reduce the pain of the contractions in a natural way. Because it's a home birth process, I did not have an IV. With the home birth process, I just have to make sure to stay hydrated. So my doula was always passing me coconut water from time to time to stay hydrated. You can hear Alma. Prior to getting to the pushing part, the baby's head wasn't low enough for me to like just start pushing. My midwife had Manny walk with me up and down our stairs that we have here at the house about 15 times up and down. Like she didn't give us a number, but we just did as much as we could, as much as I can, I should say, not him. He was just there assisting me.
Alma, mommy's working out on the day that you're born.
And that was the most helpful thing to get the baby to go down, and having him, oh my gosh, the biggest relief that I got while dealing with the contractions was being able to grab his neck and just sink my body into every contraction that I was having. And it was such a relief to be able to do that because you're in so much pain with the contractions. I'm doing this without any meds, any epidural, super natural with nothing. Nothing was given to me. All I was drinking was water and coconut water. My husband is very tall. He's 6'5". So my arms literally went around his neck like this, and I sank my body into him. And he's a big man, so he's able to carry me and take on, you know, any scratch or any weight that I'm putting on him. So that was really comforting for me when it came to the contractions, especially that close to giving birth. And Manny was like right by my side throughout the whole entire time, especially towards the end when he didn't have to get anything prepared anymore. He just stood in the room because I wanted him to see everything, and he wanted to really be a part of it, because I'm telling you, the same way it was different for me in the first pregnancy that I had and how opposite it was of this one, it was also completely opposite for him. So he really wanted to take in every moment and learn and witness everything. You can follow him on Instagram. He like wrote a really nice post about my birth and in his own words. But prior to pushing on the bed, my doula had me try out different pushing positions to see what position I'm most comfortable in. Every time one of my contractions came in, I would try a different position. So I've tried standing, squatting, and I also tried one with one leg up on the bed, and the downward dog position on the bed as well. And I tried pushing a little bit. It was like slight pushes first just to see my comfort, and I did not feel comfortable in any of those. And then finally I tried one laying on the bed but on my side. So I was laying on my side and one leg up, and Manny held my leg up on one side while my doula and my midwife were, you know, near my vaginal area looking at everything going on. And that's the one I felt most comfortable in, and that's the one I birthed in. So finally, when I got to that comfortable birthing position, which is laying down on my side and my leg up, I did not know what pushing is going to be like. This is the first time I ever had to do anything like this. So at first, I don't know how to push. I don't know how hard I'm supposed to be doing it. I was kind of just getting a feel for it. So I feel that the first 3 pushes that I gave, I was not giving my all. But by the third one, I started to get upset at myself. I started to feel like, okay, I'm not pushing hard enough. I don't feel like anything is happening. I verbally said, what's going on? Is her head not fitting? And my doula was like, no, you're doing amazing. Look, feel her head. And she took my hand and I felt her head. It was like, what? I didn't like the feeling. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can see her curly hair. It's right there. But then when I heard her head is right there and I touched it, then it was like, okay, I need to push harder. Like I said this to myself in my head, I'm not pushing hard enough. So this next time I'm gonna push even harder. So I wrapped my hands around Manny's neck and he's holding my leg up at the same time. I gave a really hard push, and that's when I started to feel like my body was ripping open. And that's when the real pain started. It was very painful. Surprisingly enough, because it was that painful, I wanted to get it through ASAP. And they kept letting me know that every time I did push that hard, the baby was moving out more and more. All I needed to do was get her head out and her shoulders out. So I went on to another push. Well, I got breaks in between, by the way, you know, because you're only allowed to push when you're dealing with the contractions. And my doula was coaching me on my how to breathe properly and, you know, the placement of my neck while I push, and that was super helpful as well. So she was telling me to keep my chin down and take a really deep breath. While I'm holding my breath in is when you do the big push. I don't know how many times I pushed in total. Manny says that entire pushing part, when I finally started pushing from beginning to end, was about 15 minutes to 20 minutes. Her head finally came out and I felt tearing, and I knew that I would tear right when I felt that third big push that I did. But at that point, I swear I did not care. I was like, I don't care, I just want to get this baby out. Once her head finally came out, they told Manny to come look and see his daughter, and his, you know, her curly hair was out, and he was like, oh my gosh, she has black curly hair. You can already see her curls. And then I gave one more big push, and that's when her shoulders came out and her whole body just came out after that. The moment of her coming out just happens so fast, and there was like this instant relief. Continuing the story, so the second that she came out, it was like this instant relief that it was all done. She's out. I finally get to see her. We immediately had skin to skin and delayed cord clamping, so we did not clamp the cord and we did not cut the cord right away. The baby is placed on top of my body as we both have skin to skin right away. And as she's on top of my body, the midwife, you know, asked me to do one like little push so that the placenta can come out. So I tore my perineum and she immediately went into sewing my perineum while I'm holding the baby, having skin to skin and all of that. I was numbed for that, by the way, so that I did not do all natural, but surprisingly I was able to still sit down and walk and do all the normal things even though I had the tear. What was also really helpful that my midwife told me to do is these padsicles, basically where you take pads and put aloe vera and witch hazel on them and then you freeze them. So I did about 10 of those and I froze them while I was pregnant. I did that. It's like a whole prep that you do while you're pregnant. So I would just get one and put it on as I needed, and it really helped with the healing process. And Manny and I are just in bed while the baby's on top of me with a towel over the baby and myself while she's on top of my body, skin to skin. And while she's on top of me, we also allowed her to find her way to the nipple so that she can latch, so that she can guide herself towards the nipple and get some of that neck strength as early as she's born, and immediately breastfeed right away as we're doing skin to skin. So eventually the cord was clamped and we saved the placenta and we saved the cord and turned it like into this little spiral. My midwife and Manny did like this little video on my iPhone that I'm trying to figure out where to post. It wasn't filmed like with the widescreen, it was filmed like straight. So I'm gonna try to include that somewhere. We saved the placenta so that Manny can make these frozen placenta cubes, which my midwife taught him how to do. I wasn't there for that. I was, you know, recovering, and him and her just went and did, you know, their thing in the kitchen. After breastfeeding, after saving the placenta, Manny did skin to skin with the baby. So he took off his shirt and the baby was placed on top of him while I go shower. I immediately went into the shower. And my doula was very attentive, just keeping an eye, making sure that everything is okay with me and that I'm, you know, nothing bad is going on with me while I'm in the shower. And she's also doing a little cleanup process, gathering all of their things together. And it was really nice that Manny got to also do skin to skin with her. I love how involved the dad process is in the home birth process. I don't see this happening in the hospital. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like dads are pushed away and not necessarily pushed away, but not as welcomed when it comes to being so involved in the hospital process. So I really, really enjoyed this process at home. Manny enjoyed it as well. And since the baby was born at 6:37 in the morning, my son was luckily still sleeping, and my mother-in-law was actually here in the house helping us care for Manny while we were doing birth process. So that was really helpful as well. By the time that Manny woke up, it was like 7:30 in the morning and Alma was already here. Everything was already done. I had breakfast right after giving birth. My midwife and my doula also had breakfast here before heading home. I also continued to do skin to skin with the baby throughout the day and the next day following up, and I still do skin to skin with her even now from time to time. And I hope I'm not missing anything out on this birth story. I think I covered everything that's important to say and everything that happened. And I will end it with, this was such an amazing birth experience. I am so grateful for it. I was super scared, just like most moms are prior to experiencing a birth. But let me tell you, like I've been telling a few girls on Instagram, I am not a strong person. Like, you guys don't really know me in my personal real life. But in my real life, I'm not that person that you would consider to be strong physically or strong-minded. Not that I'm weak-minded either, but I wouldn't call myself strong-minded. I'm not that go-getter person that is determined when they have a goal. Honestly, it's really hard to say that, and it's a weakness of mine, but I'm not that person. So if you think that I did it because I'm like this strong person, and all of that physically and mentally, trust me, I'm not. I'm just now realizing after experiencing it myself that it's more that as a woman, you're put in a position where you have to do what you're made to do and you have no choice. There's no one else that can help you. There's no other way. There's no other thought around it. You just do what you have to do when you're in that moment. And I believe that if I was in the environment where somebody's offering me meds or epidural while I'm vulnerable in a state that I'm in pain, I'm obviously gonna take it because I'm vulnerable. And some women stick strong and say, no, I don't want it anyway. But what I'm saying is you're more vulnerable to take it, to take options that you may not initially want to take because you're in that environment where it's set up for that. But at home, everything is just so peaceful, so gentle, so patient. And in comparison to my hospital process, everything was rushed and in a hurry and on their time, not on my time. The way that you're cared for in a hospital is different and you're treated more like as a sick patient. And pregnancy is not sickness. I don't like relating pregnancy to being sick. And that is what you feel when you're in the hospital. You feel more vulnerable. And I feel like your mindset kind of weakens because you're so accustomed to you fix this for me or you do this for me, and you leave everything on their hands. But at home, it's more like you have control over everything. The birth team you have around you, the support system, is following your rules and your birth plan, and you could really feel the love and the gentle process and how calm and peaceful everything is. And it's just so beautiful to be able to say that my daughter was born here at home. She's living here at the same home she was born in. And lastly, she's almost 2 months. I could really see that peace in her. She's not a fussy baby. She's so easy to take care of. I mean, the first month was really hard for me because of the struggles with breastfeeding, but now that I'm over that, it's just a breeze and it's like breathing air. And I'm just really happy taking care of her every day, and it's all good, really. It really is all good. I'm now currently struggling a little bit with getting myself back on track with YouTube and doing all the things that I like to do outside of being a mom. I will still keep in mind to do a follow-up video and do follow-up topics like the room tour I know you guys want to see, and also the products that I am loving for baby Alma as an infant. This is my first time being able to use natural, organic, non-toxic products on a baby, because as you know, I did not get to do that with my first child because my mind state was not there, my lifestyle was different. So now that I've learned all that I learned, I'm able to apply what I've learned and experience it with this baby. I thank you guys so much for your patience, for sticking with me on my little break after having Alma, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching.